Hi, Ron here from EnvisionCAD. We're going to take a quick look at tying features together at an intersection. And when I say features, we're actually editing the surface to get a composite model. What we have here is a mainline roadway with 4 lanes and a 2-lane side road. The line work here represents the 3D features out of those models, and what I want to do is put radius returns in and start building that 3D model. As it is right now, if I display triangles in this area, see a little bit of what things look like. So we've got our, in this case, 2% cross slope, 3% cross slope, 2% cross slope on the side road pavements, and the outside the backbone areas that we need to address and look at, but that's not the purpose of this tip. We'll talk about that later. And what I've done is here is a profile of that side road. Here's the 2% and 3% cross slope on the west side of the main line. And my vertical alignment for the side road ties into that edge of pavement. So the crown line of my side road ties into the edge of pavement up here. So now that we have that established where we're at, what I want to do is I want to tie this feature line to this feature line and start putting a radius return in here. In order to do that, I'm just going to go up to Surface, Design Surface, and I want to fillet features together. Now, this is an overview, so I'm not going to drill through all of these, but I'm trying to build a feature in this composite surface. I want a 30-foot radius between these features, and I'll call this Oak Street South Intersection. Feature style, brake line, all that good stuff. The features that I'm trying to tie together, number one is in the composite surface here. It's that second lane line. The other feature that I'm trying to tie together, it's also in that composite surface, but it's this lane line here. So when I go ahead and select apply, I get a preview. I can put it in either location here, but of course I want it here. So now I have a feature in my DTM that has tied those two feature lines together with the 3D feature line. Now the question is, what's the design look like? If I triangulate, I'm going to get a 2% cross slope in between the crown line and the edge of pavement to the side road. And then we've got some, maybe irregular triangles that'll form in here. I have to decide what to do with this tag edge of pavement that's running in there. Obviously, we can't run it all the way up to below the mainline edge of pavement. Would have conflicting elevations and not very constructible. There's a couple things we can do. We can partial delete to eliminate this element all the way back and transition the slope all the way from this 3D feature that we created back up to the crown line, or I could determine that maybe I want to back this up a little bit or just project it to intersect with the side road or the main line edge of pavement. So a couple things we can do there. I'll show you how that one command works and then go on to something else. So underneath surface, what we can do is we can say I want to edit surface, and what I want to do is extend features. And in this case, in the composite surface, I can instruct it that I want to extend that feature to the intersection with another feature. Now the question is, what happens when I get that extension on there? Do I change the elevation or not? Match elevation would make it a common elevation. Do not would simply extend this out at whatever slope it is, and then we'd have that conflicting elevation. I want to extend it to this element. If I accept it, it'll extend that out and the elevations will match. Now before I did that, I might want to back this up a little bit. I've got a real short vertical transition here, but we could move that back and then make the extension. But for this example, what I'm going to do is just remove this portion of that feature and make a transitional slope all the way from the crown of the road to this radius return and to the edge of pavement to this radius return. So to do that, I'm going to go to Surface. I want to edit surface, and what I want to do is I'm going to partial delete a feature. Now the feature I want to partial delete is this one, and it does run southwest to northeast, so I'm going to delete from here to get rid of that portion of the feature. That should now be gone, even though the graphics didn't update here. I'll just delete the graphic that was left over, and now there's the feature. It just didn't regenerate. So now what I want to do is tie the slopes together because I'm not sure what's going on there. In fact, I still have my fence up. Let's just look at triangles. And we can see the triangulation that's happened here. It's tying the crown of the road to the radius point and the radius point to the edge of pavement to the main line. We have some triangulation going on up here that isn't so favorable. A couple things we could do. We could add a brake line that ties the radius to the intersection of the crown of the side road to the edge of pavement of the main line. That would eliminate these triangles going across here. But let's do that in a little bit more controlled method. And I'm just going to remove this triangle display, and in order to control that triangulation a little bit better, we're going to add what are called transverse features. So in my design surface command, I'm going to come up here and generate a transverse feature. I just have to tell it which surface it's going to, and there's some settings for interval and all that. We're not going to get into all of that. But I'm going to apply, and I'm going to instruct it that I want to tie the radius return to the crown line, and it's picking the feature in that crown line model. Now I get a prompt that says identify reference feature. So what I've already done is identified the two features, but now I have to define what direction do I want these transverse brake lines created. If I pick the radius, they're going to be radial and align based on a raying out from that radius return. Or if I would pick this crown line as the reference feature, all these transverse features would be made perpendicular to that crown line. But I really want them to array out from this radius. So once I accept that point, I can give it the limits. I want to array from the beginning of that radius return up to the intersection of the crown line with the side road, the main line edge of pavement. And I also want to do this again to tie that radius to the edge of the pavement of the main line. Missed it there. And I also want them arrayed out from that radius return. And I'll take it again from that intersection around to the PT of that curve, and now I have transverse features which are put in as brake lines that'll constrain my triangulation process. So if I go ahead and close and display triangles again, you can see how the triangles have been constrained by those brake lines that I've added in, as opposed to things on the other side of the intersection. Now here's a little something. I want to evaluate this a little bit in more detail by rotating around. It's a pretty flat intersection. It's tough for me to see what's going on there. I'm going to go to my surface, view surface and options, and tell the software to vertically exaggerate that triangle display by a factor of 10. So let's just go ahead and apply to regenerate those. And here's a tip for you. Make sure you turn that back off, because that will stay put. It'll also apply to any other surface display you might make, like contours or something of that nature. Let's get rid of my fence. Just rotate around here a little bit. Rotate my view. And there's a lot more relief because of that factor of 10. So I can see how my intersection's starting to develop in a 3D fashion, if I want to look at it that way. We could also change our display type from wireframe to maybe, I don't know, illustration with lighting. If that's a little bit easier for you to see, you can do that as well. So I'm starting to build that intersection, and again, I have to predetermine what my design is supposed to look like, how I want those slopes to tie together, but depending on the features I have and how I build it, we can see that. One last thing, I'm going to rotate back up to top view. I'm going to go back to my profile view. And what I'm going to do is update my profile just to evaluate what really happened there. So if I go to update profile, what I want to do is display a projected feature, and I want to see in that composite surface that radius return that I created. So let's see. There it is. If I apply, I'm just going to take any of these offsets off. I just want to see the entire thing. So there's the radius return that was created. Now, if I want to see how that tied in with that left edge of pavement, we'll turn that on as well. It's a projected feature, and it's in that composite surface. And it's lane 1 and left 1. It appended the name when I built it. If I apply, I can see how that left edge of pavement was originally designed. I see I'm tying into that. If I want to see the edge of pavement for the main line, we can do that as well. And let's just get back up to plan view here. What I'm trying to display is this feature, and I don't want the entire length of that feature, so I'm going to put some offsets in here and I'm just going to use this command to measure or dynamically pick my offsets. So I'll just say from 40 feet right to 70 feet right. We'll just update and apply that as well. So that projects the edge of pavement pretty much downstream from where that radius return came in. So I can see how that, visually a little bit how that tied in. And of course I could just generate a profile along that edge of pavement or that radius return to look at it in another fashion. That's it for this tip. Thank you for watching.